newly elected leadership, top 5, say congratulations before one can add to what our rapporteur has presented. And one would like to thank our rapporteur because chairperson of the session, we worked under a very difficult situation yesterday. And though these other editions were doing it in the absence of our commission members, but these are other recommendations which we felt they must form part of what has been presented. The first one is we request that we appoint a full-time election volunteers team with a minimum competency requirements or experience. That's the first thing that we request, and we must build a system of competition capacity amongst our own structures. And we are requesting that the process and guidelines of selection and appointment of public representation, representatives must be strengthened. And each region must grow and develop their election program to address mainly the challenges that are found in their locality. We must establish the civic and voter education as a movement. We must be seen at the forefront of educating our people. Therefore, we request also, lastly, to say, it will be important for us to say, every day is an election day. And we wanted to phrase it in Tsonga. Those that can be able to express themselves or assist us to say, every day is an election day. Therefore, we request that we must have a unit. We'll be serving under the election subcommittee. We must have people who are skilled with technology. The reason being is because when you look at the issue of demarcation, which I learned when we were still receiving reports, we are still having a problem of people voting in incorrect voting station or wards as we speak right now, and that is happening. Now, therefore, it will be important for us to have this committee in under technology. Like we said in our report to say, we need smart leaders to lead the smart society. And I think we'll request that we go all out again on registration and ID campaign. And that, I think, will be able to be supported and be assisted by our student command. And we hope that the support that we'll get from them is very, very, very essential. Therefore, also marketing and branding. I'll set a very simple marketing and branding. Branding at our own villages. We've got donkey carts. Here, you can take only a red paint and agree and paint it. And just to paint it, you can give it 50 rand, 100 rand fighter, and it's a fighter, that person. Our branding, we must never think of branding which is very sophisticated. We must come up with branding that is associated with the masses of our people. And all we know where we are belonging to. Kodikome, everywhere. Look at the peering, like we said. You go there on the period China on Friday. It's immediately after Red Friday. Then you go to the peering with that Brigadia, what period. Therefore, we request again to have an outreach and sectoral subcommittee which will be able to assist us. We've already started the Maparangwe. There are many other organs of people's power that will be able to join forces with economic freedom fighters as long as it's us who are taking steps and making sure that we come nearer to them. I've spoke about the civic and voter education. And lastly, one would request that we have that unit that will be dealing with logistics and infrastructure. The reason being, you get in number was a rural a province. And us as the economic freedom fighters, as will be visiting these VDs, you get the problem of in my own area where I'm coming from. Small bridges. Now we must go there and look at those culverts before election date. We must not wait for the government to go and check as to whether all voting stations are accessible. They must see the red beret, making sure that the infrastructure toward the voting date are well, and everything, water, toilets, and everything. The fighters and the ground forces must be at the forefront and lead the campaign. Thank you very much.
Deputy, newly elected deputy chair, and the entire top 5. I say congratulations, and we have that trust and hope that what has been raised by this commission will be implemented. The other addition that we saw that I've made some investigations about it for deterioration in these elections. People are stealing the 10 rands from the poor people. When they join and take out the 10 rands, the people are looting that 10 rands of the poor people. So no follow-up is done on that. So I hope that if we can also look at this, because after my investigations, I've realized that most people retreated because they say, let's be very careful and let us make a follow-up on this. If we find such culprits, they must come to book. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. CCT, rale lebogisha baetapele ba rena ba baswa re a leboga. Nna a ke na a mantši fighter Mapoulo ba boletše le bo fighter Poshia. Nna ke tlo ba very short. Nna be ke re kgopela re le extendele time frame ya motho for, like, let's say o contest la bo councilora, maybe le dire time frame ya 12 months ngwaga, because motho wa tla 4 months before the election a tla ka membership o montšintši, batho ba tle a ye baleng ba mokgethe a palelwe a tsamaye le batho ba hona ba o rata mokgatlo ba itsošološe ba struggle le mokgatlo. Ke nagana re ka e thoma mathomong le before motho a na le 12 months. Ke nagana tabela ya Queen Lady e tla tswelela gabotse ka gore o boletše a re tlhokomele bana ba se ka dinyaopeng ba ya dinyaopeng because a rena nako e ntšhi ya bona e re ka ba le skill sa leadership o ko all department. Leadership ke social worker ke everything ke bana ba rena ke because of mmušo wa rena wa magodu. Ngwana o ya sekolong o humana NSFAS wa graduata wa dula o bola ke bodutu a tsebe gore o tla dirang o ya gona kwa dinyaopeng. Ke nagana re ka ba tlhokomela maybe ba re joina nako ba be le yona ra creator o dira di-project or dilo ke tše dintši ko diwating tša rena a mantši a ke na ona baetapele ke a leboga.
Thobela re a le lebogiša baetapele ba baswa ba kgethileng. Ke tlo ba mošote ke nna Rahab Capricorn Ward 7. Nna ke tlo bolela ka di-party agent. Baetapele re na le bothata ka ba di-party agent a di tlhokomelwe. Le a re tshepiša gore le o rekela di-airtime le o rekela di-Red Bull a le re tlhokomele. Ene gape le transport ya di-special vote a re na le yona re tsamaya ka maoto ANC ba na le transport ya di-special vote re kgopela le re tlhokomele baetapele.
want engineers? Okay. Thanks very much. We called for members of the committee. Now let's get submissions from members in the plenary. Can we raise hands so that you make additions? Because those were members of the committee. 1. Faitakotatso. 2 from the back. 3. At least 5 hands. 4. Mjela. 5. Thanks. Let's do it in that order.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chair, and good morning, fighters. The leadership of the province under the stewardship of Mama Chilidzi Maraga and the collective. I just want to make few submission, Deputy Chair, on the issue of, my feeling is as the EFF, we always plan our things. So we are always rushing every time, because if you remember previously during the elections of 2021, the organization said go and recruit a minimum of 500 people who will be voting for the EFF per ward. And then when people were recruiting, we allowed them to recruit a bunch of papers. Then we start verifying when it's 2 weeks to the elections, whether these people were spoken to, whether they are even registered to vote. So my submission is the incoming leadership in particular, because the Deputy Secretary will be the one handling those affairs. Let us start now and start preparing now. If there are targets per ward, let us start putting those targets now, so that when you say what 19 from you are expecting 1,000 signatures, you start monitoring it now. If we submit 100, you take it, verify with the IEC if they are registered to vote, verify if whether we spoke to them or not. Because previously people will just go to the sports ground, no, decide. We submit numbers, but the numbers do not tally with the number of votes that we get. So we need to have proper planning and pay attention to those small details. I think that's what will work. Half the time we prefer motorcades, more, those things do not assist us. We are very good in terms of that as the EFF. Even our rallies and everything, but we still miss that smaller detail. So that is my first submission. The second submission, which it also speaks to that, it's the issue of transportation of party agents and food. The organization must know at least 9 months prior to the elections, or this is the budget that we have for food. And with this budget that we have, we can afford to buy you meal, 5 kg fry pack and. So that Lerena as Makansa, because Makansa are really women in this organization, it's a reality, you can never run away from it. You know what the branches you want deploying, it's these 3 branches, dinner 5 kg each and 12.5. You start planning to mitigate and add on to what the organization have given. Because you comes on the election. Sometimes we even buy in the morning, because all this time we do check our impression the leadership is going to give us food. The same thing you touched, Fighter Mipon, the issue of transportation. It's either the organization has it or it doesn't have it. You go there, we take quotations, running around the quotations, only to find out later that they said no, they gave Fetaho Mutuats, for instance, 20,000 with 39 wards with more than 200 voting stations. What is it going to do? Let's rather agree where we can afford this and we cannot afford this, and then ritually plan on our own. Secretary, when we leave here, let us ensure that the PCT sits down and set the targets study what for new voters. Could let us have targets where each ward in Limpopo province were expecting you per month to submit this number of new registered voters that you would have registered when as the EFF. In the previous, before the 2021 local government elections, when we were working with, in Skukune it was Komisan Tokozo, we had targets where they would say Mara, they were speaking to councillors to say, councillors, every week register a minimum of 20 new voters. And I can tell you, some of our branches are surviving because of the very same fighters. Babana la homa 1820. We took them home. Rebaisha to IEC. They are very loyal, more than the rest of us. Bar Grey and Ritzvalo vote la ANC. So let me not take most of your time. Thanks.
No, thanks very much, Chairperson of the session. Let me take this opportunity and greet commissars around here and also greet the newly elected leadership which is here. And let me also say that congratulations. It is also very much important to greet all ground forces and delegates which made it to this event. So, I'm going to start by saying that it is practically evident that the EFF enjoys support. Majority of the people who are supporting the EFF, it's young people and students in particular. That is evident everywhere in South Africa because now, if you can look in all these institutions of higher learning, the EFF Student Command, it is the one which is leading. So we are saying to the new leadership which is going to be elected here that please let us retaliate on supporting the student command and also putting more emphasis on young people so that we can increase the electoral outcome of the EFF in this province and also to assist the EFF to grow nationally. And again, I believe that all of us as members of the EFF here, we are resonating with one another when we are going to say that we are in this thing to take government. And according to the look of things, the ANC is dead. So it is up to us now to make sure that we go to the ground, we go to our communities. Comrades, let me tell you something now. For us to take this government, it is our communities, it is the people whom we are leading back at home, whom are going to take us there. So what we must do is that we must start with community imbizos. We must start with community meetings. Our councillors, together with the EFF, they must make sure that they work together, they conduct such events, so that our people can have a sense of belonging and then can develop what we call trust into the EFF. And then that is the only way we are going to take it. And also, it is our people who must tell us what to do. We must take mandate from our people. They must be the ones who are telling us what is it that we are going to put on our manifesto. In that, comrades, I'm telling you now that we are going to take this government. Amanda. Thank you.
From Mupani sub-region in Bapalabur. So, Gitobula Nyana Hanyani Nyanaso. Kinyagar Boeta Pelibu Ketulin Bobuswa. At least Bohono or Lemoyana something. I think researchers at Barnelli State, Jaruadi Chelorgene, the performile votes during the elections. So, I think for us, at least to maintain those numbers. Retwanjo assisted those who had it. Ukas aspect what your in chiche 10 let me say 100 vote to reach 500 vote. And then one lesayela in very close to 900 vote, and then what consented tawela. Those numbers they are reduced and they are caused at this thing. And another thing, together with the IEC. Only the objection the reporter, and then those things we see feedback positive, you expect. And here of course we become part agent useless. Thank you very much.
Tovela ki dumedisha wetapele wa lekgotla le legolo la modimo le badimo la EFF. Ke bue ke lebogiše boetapele bo boswa bo kgethilweng tšatšing la maabane wa eme mo ke ena fighter Katlego Makopo, Capricorn District, Lepelleng Kumpi Sub-Region, Ward 2. Se ke tlo se bolela mo ke se sekopana ebile eno ba boipiletšo go boetapele go thoma ka ba selete le ba province le ba kwa maemong a bosetšhaba re hloka thekgo re le the branches thekgo re sa bolele ka thekgo ya di material things ka gore gantši ge go bolelwa ka thekgo re lebeletše di logistics re lebeletše di key a ke fe mohlala ka Capricorn boetapele bo swantše bo tsebe gore Capricorn ga se polokwane e nnoši ga se le boa kgomo e nnoši gobane ge motho ba re go na le program ya RCT e ba polokwane go ba le boa kgomo batho ba rena ba e leng gore ba sokola ba hloka ditirelo ba kua magaeng le sa fihleng go sana le di village tša go swana le bo Mehlareng Khureng ka kwa Ward 2 go sana le di village tša go swana le bo Makgophong mo e leng gore ge pula e nele difatanaga di palla go feta barutiši ba palla go fihla meberekong dikolong tšewe di ambulance di palla go rwala balwetši ka gare go di village tšona tšewe e upša re ena le boetapele bo e leng gore ge bo etla bo felela gona mo metsesetoropong a nyake go nwa metsi a go baba a kwa di villageng a nyake toilete ya khoneng ya jarata o nyaka ya ka ntlong ya o flasha empa ke boetapele ba batho ba ile gore ba hlaka ka kwa ntle bo koko ba rena go sepela kwa o ba botša ka EFF ba rena malema o tlaneng na boetapele ba rena botlaneng e no phela e ba lena le bolelang le rena go la le hlaka le rena go tlo ba bosi go ba o ba re thekgang ge ba ka re tšatši le lengwe ba no makala re tsena tleliniking le boetapele re ya go lekola gore na ditirelo di fiwa jwang ka kwa ditleliniking gobane mehla le mehla ke rena re fetoga mana ba setšhabeng le re tshepiša se ge re bitša boetapele e tla e sa le ba re tla kgetha letšatši mara e loma o e leng gore o gaufi le yona ke rena re leng ka gare ke rena re bonang batho ba le ge ba sokola re hlokomeleng baetapele sa bobedi re a dumela ka moka gore student command se raloka karolo ye bohlokwa kgolong ya EFF gobane re phela re bolela mehla le matšatši re baswa ke bokamoso ba naga ya rena a re reng ge re ba recruita ka kua di-university re ba joinisha student command re ba tsebiše ebile re ba rute gore dikgetho ga di felele ka SRC ga ba ye ba ingwadiše le IEC diwateng tše ba tswang go tšona ka nako tša dikgetho ge ba le gae ba kgethe EFF ka gare ga di-college tše re nang le tšona as a district ya Capricorn for example ga se mo e leng gore re ka palela ke go tšea masepala gobane dipalo tša rena ka kua di-universityng ke tše dintši ga e se ka ba gore re lebeletše di-benefits tša go ba SRC member re be le kgahlego le phišagalelo ya kgolo ya mokgatlo ke a leboga
ke a leboga boetapele jwa CCT boetapele ba province di-region tše di leng ka mo le baetapele Ground Forces lebitso la ka ke Sunday ke tšwa Blueberg Ward 7 then dilo tše dintši tše be ke re ke tlo di bolela a o se go thatse o di tlhašitše I will at least emphasize mo dimo a tšona taba ya transport e le re tshepišang yone re ya dikgethong baetapele it's better if le re botša gore re dire plane ya transport because re losa di-election ka baka la transport this one swantse re hatelele le tsebe and then re losa di-election ka baka la merchandise because batho ba nyaka dikipa I mean EFF a e bolele ka dikipa mara batho ba votang ba nyaka dikipa and then batho ba votang ba di party agent ba nyaka go tlhokomela then if ntho a e kgonagale be ke gopela gore at least le re botse in time or ntho tše re di tshepitšeng tšona a di sa kgonahala re dire di-plan because o ema le di-party agent from hoseng until nako yona e o sena ntho e diralang a zanka ba eno tee o sale ba torope kwa stationeng ka bo 6 o'clock a ona tšhelete because o tseba gore ba etapele ba tlo fa tšhelete go reka dijo and then le tabeng ya gore fa list le telele ngola dilo tse le di nyakang o tlo boya mo ke na le di-vd tse 6 o tisa di 12.5 tse 2 mo dima di-vd tse 6 ke na le batho ba 60 ka 12.5 tse 2 ka bripec e 1 ka matlhare kore dilo tse e le goreng botsebotse nka bo le re boditse gore e zameleng be re ta di zama be re kgopela boetapele jo bo tsenang e le gore dilo a di kgonale until le kry-a dilo tse le di kgobeka tša plekete le reketse le re botsa gore di gona di re tlhakane le re botsa gore no dijo dikipa di-flyers di gona e tla le di tšeeng se ka la re nyakang batho nyakang di-list batho ba re ra mo bona fighter mapolo re fe list ya re fe dinomoro tša re fe registration number re fe account number tax tšeo di tlota through a ye lineng o ya straight to station o rola batho wona o fitlha kry-a setjaro le load tse 6 a ona tšhelete ya mo tšhelela makhura then e be tšhae o ya mokolota ane lona mo ke tswang kolota taxi tse 3 4,500 e ba mpona always ba nyaka tšhelete ya bona and ke dula ke fa mabaka ka ntho tse ka dikolo tse ke di ileng ke lena le diela nna baetapele so baetapele jo bo tsenang se ka la re diela dikoloto if ntho a e kgonagale a re kgawaneng le yona le re botse gore re ya dikgethong a re boneng plan re botse di-party agent tsa rena gore a rena dijo e tla le ska 15 ke tlo tšea furu ke ta bona mosara gore ke tla dira eng and then that will be fine ke a leboga.
Thanks very much, Commission on Elections and Campaigns. Is there any other commission that have not reported yet? Can you come to the fore and make a report? Okay. Before that, let's give to the leadership in front here to respond to some of the comments and questions you raised. I'll start with the chair. The rapporteur and the chairperson can come and respond.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session, and acknowledge the comments and valuable inputs made by fighters. And to say the majority were comments, but one would like just to touch on 2 issues and assure our fighters about our forward planning and which will be able to advise the leadership. But firstly, I think all of us, we must become malemas and shibambos of our own destinations or villages. We will overstretch our leadership. I understand how, indeed, you need to see the leader. But during election period, you will get a lot of requests where they will focus on malemas, shibambos. Now, let's become the malemas of our own villages, and it's possible. We've got all the ammunition to do that. Now, on transport leadership, I think we must be able to develop a transport plan. We must, and other logistics, I don't speak about food and other things. Those are, but we will be able to develop a transport plan which speaks to our people so that we can be able to resolve these problems. And indeed, it is unfortunate that we are at this assembly. We've got a blueprint that will be submitted to the elected leadership. The number of issues that we have raised are covered in that blueprint. And therefore, I think ours, we say we are late in terms of, we were supposed to start around September. We're already late. We must be able to start now. By December, we can even go and establish structures. First, we must start with structures around the province. Either is between now, it will depend on the leadership. But I don't think revolution knows Christmas. Now, therefore, I think everything that the fighters have raised, we've got it in the blueprint. Therefore, the leadership will be able to give ahead a go-ahead in terms of its implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the chairperson of the commission. We're now going to call another commission if there's no issue which the leadership wants to speak on about what the fighters have submitted. Leadership, is there anything? Okay, fine. The next commission, can you come and report?
Thank you, Provincial Deputy Chairperson. Greetings, special greetings rather, to all delegates of this province of the North. Special greetings to the RCTs present, newly elected. Greetings to our CCT, and also to our newly elected PCT under the leadership of Commissar Chilizi Maraga. Fighters, my name is Fighter Sagi Muhuba. I am the Deputy Chairperson of Skukune, and I'll be presenting to you a report on the Commission of Political Education. We've identified key points in as far as the dynamics of the principles are concerned, where government and governance is concerned. And the key points are as follows. After thorough discussions, we got to a point where we agree, or rather we're in solace, that we have to inculcate, or rather indoctrinate our people with the definitions of the concepts, political education, and political science. The second one is the cardinal pillars, the constitution of the economic freedom fighters, and our founding manifesto. The third one is a program of action, or rather programs of action to be implemented by the upcoming Provincial People's Assembly, which is this current one that we're holding today, on organizational structures. For example, political induction for the new recruits to inform them of the principles of the economic freedom fighters, the culture and customs of the economic freedom fighters. And then the fourth one, we've agreed to establish the school visits program to educate our people or students of the importance of voting and registration. The fifth one, it's an emphasis on the issue of teaching youth politics so that we can dominate the branches, regions, and the province. One that follows, we have to establish programs which will alert the dwellers about the society impacting things, which include none other than gender-based violence. The next one is to find translators for different languages and sign language in that people with impaired needs or physical challenges too. I think here we're supposed to write people with challenges can have an understanding of what is said. The next one is basic introduction of the Lenin principle and order to enforce the growth within the organization. BCD leaders to be inducted or nomination. Proper training to PPA. I think this is supposed to be PCT, proper training or rather induction to our PCT, RCTs, and our branch command teams, which is the BCT, so that new recruits can relate towards what is expected. On making door-to-door church leaders, members, traditional councils should also be inducted in a way that they can associate themselves with the principles of the economic freedom fighters. The impact of a leader prior to the school visits churches and traditional councils on each and every quarterly term. Such programs should be implemented. Each ward in each sub-region of every region should have at least 15 people who are through to the induction, to an extent that newly recruited fighters recruited daily should be inducted on a weekly basis. I think here what we meant to write is each ward per sub-region in each and every region should have at least 15 people who are thorough in as far as induction is concerned, or the school of thought in the economic freedom fighters is concerned, just so they can conscientize our people on the ground on a daily basis as and when we interact with them. The next point is to nominate portfolio leaders so that they can know what is expected of them. Next one is, we got to a point where we realized that out of all the mechanisms to be used, the nominated leader or leaders per portfolio should have the acquittance in a sequenced way from the CCT. It's an error there, it's supposed to be PCT, RCT, and BCT, in order for them to normalize reporting and inducting policies. The use of languages in a way that all rural dwellers can have an understanding of what is presented to them and what is required from them. Stages of development due to the understanding levels, for instance, short learning sessions. Debates should be established so that EFF can be a fashionable impression and also have merchandise as a giveaway gifts to can encourage each other. On the issue of work committees, we've agreed that they should be politically inducted as well, in a sense that they can understand the expected activities per the organizational requests. Commissions should be implemented nationally. That is the last on this one. And then we've developed a program of action, or rather a table that guides us as to how, where, and when all these findings have to be implemented. Because for us to actually get to a certain point, we must first have a plan which is governed, or rather associated with issues of implementation. Because talking only, or rather engaging only, cannot get us anywhere if we do not implement what we say. We usually get to say talk is cheap. As such, I'll present to you our action or program of action on the issue of political induction and education, wherein we're going to interact and educate our people with the constitution of the EFF, the cardinal pillars, the founding manifesto. We've got to a point where we agreed that this must be implemented by the PCT with the help of the RCTs, just so it reaches our branch levels through the BCTs. The question of when is each and every time we have new recruits. In a nutshell, what will happen here is we'll get to have induction programs for every group of people that we get to recruit into the EFF. And then number two, on the issue of school visits, for the purpose of motivational codes, political knowledge, and evaluation on programs. Again, the question as to who must actually deal with this matter comes back again to say the provincial command team must ensure that our regional command teams implement this program into the branches, because that's where the organization exists. The branches remain the basic units of our organization. So if we do not reach out to the branches, we will not have leaders. If it wasn't for the branches, we wouldn't be sitting here today in this assembly to elect our PCT officials, to elect our PCT members. As such, on this matter, the question of when, we agreed on a quarterly basis. That would be every 3 months, which means 4 times in a year, we must get to a point where each and every leader in our society visits schools, churches, taxi ranks, and all the strategic areas that we find within our communities in order for us to reach out to our voters. On the issue of tribal visits and churches, this one was supposed to be coupled with the one of school visits. It's all about visitations. So the model as to who must implement it and when is the same. It's on a quarterly basis. Then, election of portfolio leaders. This one is just so we can enable access to information and relevance depths to inquire. And then also on the question of who must actually implement this, we have again said to ourselves that the newly elected PCT must ensure that all regions across the province reach out to all the sub-regions across their various regions, or rather our various regions, just so each and every BCT and the branch membership can get the much needed representation and the much needed guidance in as far as the economic freedom fighters is concerned. Then the historical knowledge portion, wherein we're going to deal with the issues of theory, political theory, your Marxism, Leninism, and Fanonian school of thought. That which Commissar Mtini always inculcate into our sittings, or rather into our minds, that as revolutionaries, we ought to be readers. As revolutionaries, we ought to be guided by principles and theory. Then on this one, we said also our PCT must be a perfect, and I repeat, a perfect example of such a reading bunch of leadership. There should be a perfect example of such a reading type of leadership. We cannot afford to be guided by opinions and feelings each and every time we're supposed to have a conversation. It cannot be. The economic freedom fighters is found on the theoretical background of the likes of Che Guevara. And for us to actually get to eliminate the enemy on the ground, which is the African national criminals, ANC, we must know where we're from, where we are, and equally where we're going. With that in mind, we've agreed that this question of reading, this question of conscientizing each and every person, or rather each and every leader in this movement, together with the members and those that are coming in, the provincial command team must, with proper guidance from the CCT, ensure that on a monthly basis, our people get to have a little bit of information in as far as this concept is concerned. With that being said, we mean to say, whenever we get a chance, fighters, on a daily basis, a fighter must never, and I repeat, a fighter must never find him or herself going to bed without having learned one new concept, one new way. That is how you develop to think within the box, outside the box, and equally to anticipate matters as they come. That's where we get to assess the ground and be able to anticipate the ANC's moves in the near future. That is why whenever our own CIC speaks, he will tell you what the ANC will do tomorrow. And believe you me, those fools will follow. Because that is their plan. We're seeing into the future. We usually say dialectical materialism, the law of dialectics. We must learn these things just so we be proper leaders. Leadership is not only going to be about saying I'm an EFF member and then the only thing you know how to say is the Amandla and Awet. We cannot lead our people with Amandla and Awet. Our branches cannot be worked by Amandla and Awet. We need to conscientize each and every person we come across. And for us to do that, let's open books. Literature is important in politics. For us to attain the much needed numbers, our leaders must be conscientized. They must have content. We usually say, "Sifunu nobalone content." We usually say we need leaders with content. But then where do we get such content? Political literature. Books. That is what is important. Now, on the last point of public representatives, we've agreed that as per the schedule that we've received, and when I'm saying we've received, I'm referring to myself as well, as I'm a public representative of this organization, we have had to write tests. Commissar Rebecca has said in our organizational report that we've written tests, of which I'm certain that most of us did not even pass, let alone know what they were about. Because we are not yet well-oiled. We're in a revolution that is starting from the ground up. We're only turning 10 next year. But then as you can see, things are shaking up and they're shaping up real proper. So for us to actually reach the glorified destination that we're headed to, we must write this test. And then our public representative must ensure that each and every BCT must learn the principles of the EFF. Our revolutionary code of conduct. That is our Bible. Our constitution. That is where we come from. The 7 cardinal pillars. That is the foundation from which we arise. We must all know these things. We must all ensure that when we sleep, we say, no, I've seen land. I want to expropriate that land. And I'm not going to compensate anyone. It's ours. They are not only in these books for us to just read them and then recite them tomorrow. No. Implementation must be done. As such, our PCT must guide us on this one as the RCTs, just so we can guide the BCTs on the ground. And equally, just so we can reach out to each and every person out there. And this one must be done on a monthly basis. With all that being said, fighters, without any further waste of time, I'd like to thank the newly elected Deputy Chairperson of this province of the North, our very own fighter Rasimaepa, for this opportunity, and equally my portfolio members for having made such well-informed and guided inputs to this, towards the writing and the compiling of this report. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Commission on Political Education. We are going to invite 5 hands which are going to be members of the Commission on Political Education. Afterwards, we are going to get 5 hands again who will be coming from the plenary, those that want to make questions, submit questions or make comments on the commission. Members of the Commission on Political Education, number 1. Number 2 from the back, Alex. Is it only 2? Okay. Okay, 3, Mama. Another female. Another female fighter. Okay, 3. Can you speak in that order, please? Before you speak, fighters from the back, you can just fill these seats in front here. You can leave only 2 rows because they are reserved for the traditional leadership.
Thanks the leadership for giving me the time. It's fine. Okay. Sorry. All right. No, thanks very much. Thanks very much the time that I've been. Oh, and the card. Oh, ni Philip Mtembi, no Mamopana region, sub-region Yatsanini, Ward 17. Actually, I just like to make some emphasis because I'm going to touch 2 issues. The issue of theory and also the question of portfolio, because I've realized on the question of portfolio, yeah, I'm going to emphasize the issue of portfolio so that anyone can understand, because we have realized that there is a challenge in terms of portfolio. At branch level, there is this question you find in a situation that we concentrate only on top 5. There is additional members for 10 people. I'm speaking at